Hi everyone. So this little broadcast is going to be about embryo donation and my story on donating my 4 frozen embryos from mine and my husband's IVF cycle. So I am 34 years old and I live in New South Wales, Australia, and I had 4 years. Hi, Katie. Hi, Emery. I had 4 years, pretty much as soon as Nathan and I got married, and we got married when I was very young. I think from memory I was 21 years old when we got married. We instantly decided that we wanted to try and have a family. And 4 years passed and multiple fertility specialists and appointments and treatments, and we never fell pregnant, and we were devastated. And we were told that IVF was the only way for us to have a family. And we were still really young and we weren't on a huge income and it was going to be a huge expense. So we thought, okay, well, why not? Let's just put a pin in it. I needed a break. It was really stressful and emotional. So we put a pin in it and we picked up and we moved to give Nathan a new chance at a job, at another job opportunity that had come up. So we moved, and 3 months after we moved, I fell pregnant naturally to our now 9-year-old son, Heath, which was an absolute blessing. Hi, Missy. So once we found out we fell pregnant naturally, we moved back home to be closer to my family. And Heath was born perfect and lovely and healthy and wonderful. And shortly after he arrived, we decided we wanted another one. And we tried for 5 years unsuccessfully to fall pregnant again. And so we instantly thought, you know what, let's just go and do IVF. So we set a time frame, and because we know that the rates of success go down after the woman turns 30, we made the decision to go and do IVF if we hadn't fallen pregnant by the time I turned 30. So I turned 30 and there was still no baby, so we went and we did our first and only IVF cycle. That cycle was horrible. If you've ever done IVF, you can totally relate to the emotional, stressful and physical strain that it puts on your body. And it was just, and not to mention the financial, it's very expensive, but everything else on top of that makes it a very difficult process, and you know that the chances of success are very minor. Do you know what I mean? Like they still say to you that there's no guarantee on this. So I went in and had my egg retrieval, and at that egg retrieval they took 14 eggs, 12 of which were mature. And I hyperstimulated. So I was in hospital whilst calling them to get updates on those embryos, and was told that I probably wouldn't be able to transfer an embryo because when you hyperstimulate, they generally wait another cycle and they freeze whatever's great and then they do a frozen transfer. But I was lucky that I recovered okay and we were able to transfer one little embryo. So from my 12 embryos that were mature, 11 of those fertilised. On day 3, 8 of them were still looking fantastic. And on day 5, we had 5 that were high-grade embryos. At our fertility clinic, they only freeze top-quality embryos. So we popped back one of our 5 and froze the remaining 4. The one that we put back grew into my beautiful now 3.5-year-old son, William. And we had 4 remaining left over. Just recently, I think it was June last year, we decided that, or it was actually just before June, we decided that we were going to go back in and do a frozen cycle to complete our family. And I've called up the centre and booked in with them, sort of thinking that we'd probably go in September. We talked about what I needed to do in regard to blood work and scans and things leading up to the cycle. And 4 weeks later I found out, or 3 weeks later I found out I was in fact pregnant. And I'd fallen pregnant naturally with my now 4, almost 5-month-old Princess Eloise. So that pregnancy was horrible. It was a horrible pregnancy. She is a beautiful baby, a precious baby, complete and utter blessing, and I just love her to pieces. But that pregnancy almost ruined me. I suffered from depression. I was in and out of hospital. I was so ill with hyperemesis that I was tube fed. I was on drips for fluid. I was, when they admitted me, I was tachycardic. They couldn't find my pulse on my extremities, on my wrist. I was, which is what they call thready. It's like they can't even find it, or it's really faint. I was very unwell. And even at 9 weeks pregnant, I said to Nathan, even if I miscarry, I just can't do this again. I was sick with my first, I was sicker with my second, but felt like I was going to die sick with Eloise. And it was then that I decided that we couldn't go back. It wasn't fair on Heath and William. It was very tough on them with me not being home. And my 9-year-old son really struggled seeing me that ill. And even when I wasn't in hospital, I struggled to just get out of bed. Sometimes Nathan would just walk me down the hallway and put me on the lounge. And then in the evening, he would walk me back to the bedroom and I'd fall back to sleep. I couldn't keep down fluid at all, really. The only fluid I could drink was soda water, which I normally hate. It was just a horrible, horrible experience. So during that pregnancy, we started discussing what we were going to do with our leftover embryos. And we really only have 4. Yes, exactly, Beck. They only have 1 mummy. We had 4 beautiful embryos remaining, and you have 3 choices on what you're going to do with those embryos. 1, you can donate them to science and hope that they learn something that makes someone else's journey a little bit easier, or maybe results in someone who is desperate for a family to have a family. 2, you can just discard them. Or 3, you can donate them to a family. Now, at the time that we did our IVF cycle, I never considered that we wouldn't use these embryos. You don't ever think you're going to have anything left over, let alone fall pregnant and be blessed enough to have a family. So those sorts of things, you don't go into IVF thinking. You don't go into IVF considering that that's a decision that you're going to have to be faced with. And it's a very difficult decision. And when I decided that we were in fact done, and there was no way that I could possibly go through another pregnancy, I realised that I just couldn't destroy them. I couldn't discard them. And there's nothing wrong with someone else making that choice. And I want to stress that right now, because it's not the decision that I made is not the right decision for everybody. But I'm hoping that by talking about making this decision, I'm hoping that some people that may be listening that are currently at the point in their journey that they need to be making a decision about their embryos and they're not quite sure what they want to do. I'm hoping that by talking about why I made the choice that I did and what's happening in my journey at the moment, which is just awesome, it may help you come to terms with that decision for yourself. So Nathan my husband, he came to the decision very early on that he wanted to donate them. And for him, it was an easier decision. For me, the thought of not being the mum was very difficult, and it is still something that I struggle with. It's not my role, and it's not something that I can do for them. And they won't grow up in my home. They won't grow up with their 3 biological siblings. And Nathan and I will not be their parents. We can't be that for them. So it was something that I really struggled with, and I still think, and I think that there will always be a part of me that will be saddened by that. But the mother in me loves them enough to want to give them a chance. And I think about it, and one of those embryos could be William. Do you know what I mean? That could be my 3.5-year-old son, who is loud and boisterous and takes life by the horns and is brave and so affectionate. And I don't know who these little people are, and they may not become anything, and that's really important to remember as well. But they are a chance. Do you know what? He really is cuddly, isn't he, Emery? They are a chance at life. And I want I remember that feeling. I remember that feeling for those 4 years when we were trying desperately to have a child. I remember that thought in the back of my head that, oh God, I'm never going to be a mum. I'm never going to be a mum. It's just never going to happen for me. Why is this so hard? I remember feeling that, and I remember the immense disappointment every month when it was a negative. I remember those feelings, and I remember the desperation, and it's sheer desperation. It is soul-consuming feeling that you want to be a parent. I remember that. And as a photographer, after going through IVF, I every year donated a free photo shoot and all of the photos to a family who had conceived through IVF, because the costs generally meant that they couldn't afford to have a professional photographer capture their baby that they'd so desperately wanted. And through that, I had so many people send me emails about their stories in order to try and win that shoot. And often I never picked one. I always ended up giving away like 3 or 4 of them. I'm terrible at that. So I have all of those stories in my head of all these amazing people who go through so much, and they're way more than I ever went through. We were really lucky. 1 IVF cycle, 1 beautiful baby, 4 frozen embryos, and 2 naturally conceived children. Yes, it took us 13 years. It took us 13 years to have 3 children. But it takes some people 13 years and they still have no children. So it's just, I just knew that those 4 embryos could be the answer to somebody's prayers. It could be the answer to somebody's, and it could change the future for them. And it can fill their home, and it can fill their arms, and it will fill their hearts. And so in doing so, it will do that for me. So there are several different types of donation that you can do. You can do a donation where you just hand over your embryos to a clinic, and they will find somebody perfect for them, and they take care of everything. And you leave your details at the clinic, and then if the child so chooses, they can contact you when they're old enough. Or you can do what we're doing, which is an open donation, where we actually have found our donors ourselves through a donation network. And can I say that process is one of the hardest things that I've ever had to go through. Harder than making the decision to donate the embryos. What was harder again was getting the amazing number of emails, like overwhelming number of emails from all of these beautiful couples or families wanting these embryos. It was just, it was really overwhelming, and I had to step back after maybe the 3rd day of these emails coming through and Facebook messages coming through of all these people who read our little article that we put up about us and about our 4 frozen embryos. It was, yes, Beck, it was really heartbreaking, and it's very overwhelming because you get to that point. Yeah, exactly, Ashley. How do you pick one person? And this is going to make me cry. It's extremely difficult to just pick one family. It was heartbreaking. I just wish I had more to give, because there were so many families and so many couples that were desperate, and that you can't help but fall in love with them and empathize with their stories. But I can only help one family. So I made connections with 2 couples, and then I really struggled with that, because I started to make a relationship with both of those couples, and it was at that point that the emails were flooding in, and I found myself getting very overwhelmed, and I had to take a step back. And when I did take a step back, I also got quite ill. I cancelled a Skype call with one of the couples because I was feeling sick, and that couple took a few days, and they made a decision that they wanted to go in a different direction. And that was, I think, the planets, the fate, whatever you want to call it. It was the world's way of saying it's okay, Claire. It's okay that you want to go with this couple. It's okay. This is the right decision. This is the right home for them. So whilst my heart was taking me in that direction, I was really battling. Yeah, I was really battling with that because both families, both couples were amazing, and they both were going to make fantastic homes. But at the end of the day, the thing that makes you make the choice is a gut. It's a gut feeling, and it's in your heart. And I just know that the beautiful family that we made a connection with was, the couple that we decided, they actually already have a son who is a very similar age to our eldest son. We made that decision because there's like, it's really hard. It's a really hard thing to describe. You know that it's right when it's right. And I think there's really only one word to describe it, and I really do. I love this family. I feel like they are the perfect home for these families, for these potential babies. I just feel like it's the right environment for them, and I've got a great connection with them. We talk on Facebook all the time through Messenger, and we're getting to know one another, and it's still very early in our process. We're only really just sort of getting into things now. We will start with our first counselling sessions in a couple of weeks' time, and the embryos will probably move across soon from our clinic to their clinic, and things will start to move. When you do an open donation like we are doing, we'll have counselling sessions separated from one another, and then joint counselling sessions where we'll all get together to make sure that everyone's on the same page and we all know where one another sits. And my hope for the future of the donation is that I can maintain a relationship with this beautiful family, and that we will all get to watch these hopefully beautiful little babies grow into the people that they are meant to be, and that they're destined to be. So I think my priority from a parental perspective, from my 3 children that live under my roof, is that particularly Heath, who is aware of what is happening. We have explained to him what we've decided, because he knows. He was 5.5 when we did William's IVF cycle, and he watched me do needles, and he was aware of what was happening. So he actually knows that we're looking at donating, or that we have donated. He knew that we were looking into it. He knows that we've found our perfect family. He knows that these babies aren't going to be ours. He knows that they will be... Oh, thanks, Anne-Marie. He knows that they will be his brothers and sisters genetically, that they'll be his siblings, is probably the correct term to use, but that they won't be living under our roof. But he knows that he will get updates on how they're going, and maybe one day, if we're all comfortable, we might be able to get together and they can meet one another, and hopefully they'll have a relationship if that's something that they all decide that they want. I'm a real strong believer in that family is really important, and family can be many different things. A family can be made up of so many different people, and sometimes it takes a village to create a baby. Sometimes it takes more people. So whilst Nathan and I were there at the beginning and we created these little people on a cellular level, it's going to take the beautiful woman that is going to be the mother of these babies, who's going to be the mother of these babies, who's going to raise them. It's going to take her to grow them and to nurture them and to teach them about life and morals. And yes, Kathy, definitely. They're going to be the ones that shape who they are and what they feel and how they think of themselves. And she's going to be the one that's going to build them up. And she's going to be the one that's... she gets to be their mum. So whilst that's not going to be my role anymore, and I I don't actually think I was ever destined to be that for these 4 embryos. I really believe that it's my way of thinking that those 4 embryos were never created for me. They were never created for Nathan and I. They were always meant for the family that we chose. And by making the choice to donate to them, we're just completing a family that should have always been. And their son is going to make a beautiful big brother, and they're going to grow up in a home where they're going to be loved, and we're going to love them too. Hopefully not too overbearingly for the beautiful family that are going to be their home, because I think that's probably the thing that I'm struggling with now as a donor, is trying to give them space to go through the process that they're going through, which is also an emotional one. I want to be able to, I want to be right for them. I want to do what they need me to do, I suppose. And I really want to build up a great relationship with them so that that can be maintained. And so that Nathan, Heath, William and myself and Eloise can watch hopefully these babies grow into beautiful people. So donation is not, donation can be many different things. It can be just sperm, it can be just eggs, or it can be like us, and it can be an embryo that was created not for the purpose of donating. When we went through that cycle, those embryos meant everything to us, and they still do. When we went through that cycle and we were told about those numbers, and every single one of them was a promise. It was a chance at being a parent. And this donation is the last job that I have. It's the last job as their biological mother, and Nathan's last job as their biological father, to find the perfect family for these potential little people. And I hope that they bless this family that we have chosen. I hope, and that have chosen us, because I do, it's a two-way street. It needs to be comfortable and right for everybody. So we are just as lucky that they have chosen us. And I really do feel blessed to have found, or to have been found by, that we found one another, because these little people won't become people without any of us. And that's the story of, that's going to be their story. And it's actually quite a remarkable story. And it's one that they will grow up knowing. Nathan and I feel very strongly about the fact that somebody's genetic history is extremely important for mental and emotional well-being. So these little people, if they do grow into little people, will know that they are donated embryos. They will know their story, and they will know what Nathan and I are. Probably not when they're little. They won't fully understand what all that means and where we sit within all of that. But it's not going to be something they find out one day. They won't be able to pinpoint a moment in their life where they were told. It'll just be common knowledge to them. All of the family, they all know that they're receiving donated embryos, and that's the way that they're going to be growing their family. So everybody knows. My family knows, Nathan's family knows, the donors, the recipients' families all know. And yeah, I hope so. I really hope that that's the case. That's probably one of the things that I struggle with now, is that will they come to me later and ask why? Will they ask me that when they're 20 or, whatever? Will they ask me why I didn't have them? Will that be a question that they ask? But then I think about it even further, and I know how amazing, I just know how amazing this couple is. These children, if they grow into beautiful babies, that I hope that they do, they're going to have such an amazing life that I just hope that they see that it was done from the heart. The choice was done from the heart. It's not been an easy one, but it's the right one for me, and it's the right one for Nathan, and hopefully they grow into beautiful little people and live amazing little lives, and hopefully I'm lucky enough to be able to watch. So that's my story. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble. And I hope that if you're listening or watching this replay and you're thinking about donating your embryos, I hope that this has helped you process your own thoughts and feelings on the subject. And I hope that you find peace in whatever choice you make. And there's no right choice. There really isn't. If it's not right for you, if donation isn't right for you, then don't do it. But for me, I couldn't not give them a chance. And this beautiful family that we have found, this beautiful family is their chance. And hopefully it's a beautiful, happy ending. So thank you so much for listening. And I will talk to you all later. Bye.